Welcome back for another video. This video is going to be on Lathe Lesson 8 tutorial, and this is going to be the tutorial out of your book. You will have to, if you start reading the tutorial, you'll notice that you have to import a solid file. This file I actually saved on the portal for you. It is a Mastercam file, so you're not really importing it. However, if you were going to import this file, all you would do is go in and hit open, and let's go off our computer, browse, and I would just go over to here, and I would click on either whatever file it is. So if it was an IGES file, I would click on IGES, and it would only show me IGES files in this this folder here, or I could just hit all files, and I could find it, wherever it's at, whatever file it may be. If it's an Inventor file, if it's a SolidWorks file, Pro E, CATIA, whatever, you can bring them in from there. But in this case, again, you can just open it because it is an actual, in fact, actually this one is it. It's an actual Mastercam file. So as you can see, I have imported it here. We already have our lathe default selected, and I'm just going to go down to my planes, or my levels, and I'm going to, planes, and I'm going to select my DZ plane and hit equals. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my stock plane to DZ as well. Hit check. Now I could work, since I already have my geometry here, I could work on my top plane. I only pick the DZ plane usually because it helps with creating geometry. I can just type in diameters instead of typing in radii to to create my silhouette or my profile, my turn profile. But since I already have it as a solid, doesn't really matter which plane I work in. I just work in DZ because I'm used to it, and I just do that out of habit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. We can start creating toolpaths. We don't have to create geometry here. I have used a tube for my stock. So in my stock setup, if I go in there just to kind of show you, this will import this way, but I just have an OD, I have an ID on. Of course, I created the ID so that it gives me a little bit to turn off. The purpose of this tutorial is to teach you how to do a lot of the live tooling stuff. I know you already know how to drill a part, so drilling this so that you can bore it, I'm not really worried about saying. I know you know how to do that already. So at this point, you can just use this tube stock. We have our we have our chuck jaws already on. Also, I have notice I can see inside my part. It's actually translucent. That's something that I wanted to mention to you. If you go to view, you can turn on your translucency, and you'll be able to kind of see through this part, so you can see what's going on in there when we do bore it. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start by facing this part, of course. Turning, click face, select my tool, of course, my spindle speed, my max is 3000, check. Everything here looks good, computer's fine for this, check. There we go, there's my face. Alright, next I'm going to do my rough. So I'm going to rough this. Now, you can see here, it says click the entry point. Alright, so obviously I can't click anything here because it's not seeing this. So I can't grab on to nothing because I don't have a wireframe, essentially. So what I can do here is I can actually click my solids, and it will give me my turned profile. So then I can pick this fairly easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that, check. Same tool, put my speeds in, 3000. And my rough parameters, that's always about 20 thousandths. Stock to leave it Z, it's 5 thousandths. Stock recognition's on. My lead in, I'm actually going to extend this a little bit past. So I'm going to extend that. Let's go 0.1. We'll go 100 thou past. Computer's off to the right. Everything there looks good. All right, so there's my rough. Let's finish up here. I'm just going to do my same one. Unfortunately, I do not have that option in here. If I do go back, it even won't let me do it then. So I do actually have to reselect because there's not a last button for this, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and just select that same path, check, and type in my speeds and feeds, 3000. Everything there looks good. My lead in, I'm going to extend this again, 0.1, check. And everything there looks good. Check, and there's my finish pass. Okay, so got all that finished. Next, I'm just going to do the inside. I'm only going to bore it. Let me see here. If I go to view, I'm only going to view, or I'm going to bore it to this little part right here. You can see there's a step right here. I'm just going to bore past there. I'm going to do the rest from this side, from the back side. Yeah. So if I go into wireframe, you can kind of see this a little better if I go to wireframe. So this bore comes in right here. Right there's the bottom of that bore. And I'm just going to go a little bit past there. Even that doesn't show it very good. Probably see it better there. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to my turn. Rough. You know what? I don't have a lot of stock on it. I'm just going to do a finish pass there. I don't even need to rough that. Check. And we do not want a regular turning tool because that's not going to work out too good for us. Half-inch boring bar would be fine for that. I'd actually probably rather use a 3/4 inch boring bar, to be honest. So that one looks pretty good. And let's go and change our speeds. Looks good. Finish. I'm going to take 2 finish passes and just make a finish step over point maybe 0.5. Nothing leaving. Lead in. We're going to actually extend this a little bit. So I'm going to extend that 0.1. And it looks good. Oh, here we go. We have something. Oh, right there. So I'm colliding. So that bar is a little bit too big. It appears that's just a little bit too big for my stock or for my part. So let's go ahead and click in here. And let's change our tool. So 3/4 is going to be too big. Let's see what else we got. We can use this 1/2 inch. That should be fine. If I had a 5/8, I would probably normally go to that. But I didn't see one in there. And I don't feel like creating one for this. If I was actually doing the part, if I was actually making it, I would use a 5/8. Okay, so that looks good. Alright, so I'm ready to do some of the live tooling on this. Alright, so let's go ahead and start that. Let's do these end cuts first. So we can do these one of two ways. We could either do these with a face contour, or we could do them with a cross contour as well, using a y-axis. Doesn't really matter which way you do them. You can do them either way. I'm going to use a face contour just because it's pretty easy. It's going to leave a nice finish on this surface. So I'm just going to pick, and I need to decide what I want to use here. I'm going to use edges instead of faces. And I'm not going to use a loop. I'm going to use a partial. I'm just going to select... Oop. Not what I want. Let me unselect that. Nope. There we go. So I got that one selected, and that will actually be, that will not be climb milling. So what I'm going to do is actually unselect that, and I'm going to reselect it from this side. So it's climb milling. So there we go. Now it's climb milling, and I'm going to select this one as well. Hit check. My tool. And I'm going to pick a 1/2 inch end mill for this. Let's see, we're going to mill this at about 20 inches a minute at 5,000 RPM because it's aluminum. Plunge feed rate, we can make that about 15 because we're not going to be plunging into anything. Computer, it's going to be off to the right. That looks good. So I'm going to actually put wear on there so I can control that out of the machine. Depth cuts, we're going to take this all at once. Lead in, sure, we're definitely going to lead in. I'm going to make that 10, 10. I'm also going to adjust this contour and extend it. So I'm going to adjust that, extend it. We're going to make it 55% of the cutter. Looks good. Multi-passes, I am going to take a multi-pass of, I don't care about that. I'm just going to put a finish pass on, 0.005, so I get a good finish here. Linking parameters, my depth is going to be at 0 because that is the bottom where I picked it. Top of stock is actually going to be right here. Feed plane, let's put that at 0.3. Retract 0.3. And we can make the clearance 0.5. You can turn the clearance off too. It really doesn't do much here. I'm going to hit check. Okay. So created my parts, or created my lines, just not exactly on the right side. So I need to reverse left. Check. Regen that. There we go. Much better. All right, let's simulate this and see how that looks. Well, that looks pretty good. That's what I want. Let's go ahead and do it again. Slow it down just to see where the tools come in at. That looks good. Yep. All right, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and continue on. All right, so we're going to do a face contour for this one as well. I think your book actually has you drill these first. I'm going to drill them second. Doesn't really matter that much what order you go in, just so long as you're drilling them. So I'm going to do a face contour again. I am going to select a loop for this one. And I'm going to try and make sure I get that loop. That is going to climb mill it. I am going to dynamically change that to my highest point there. And hit check. My 1/2 inch end mill is what I'm going to be using again. Where? It's going to be off to the left. That looks good. Depth cuts? No. Lead in, yes. I do not need to extend these. I'm going to use my overlap there. And multi-passes, definitely. So I'm going to do about 3. I'll try out 3. And we'll step over 0.1 each. Actually, let's make it 0.15 each time. And then we'll have that finish pass in there. Bottom or depth, I'm going to select the back side here. And since I did that, I can either add a little bit to this, like I had 50,000, so it goes past, it goes a little bit past there. Or I could just use my breakthrough too. Either one is fine. I usually just add it to this one, but I just wanted to show you that breakthrough is available. I guess it's for people who can't do math and add to this. I just don't really know where you would use that. There probably is somewhere that it becomes advantageous to use that, but I just don't know what it is. Top of stock is going to be 0 here. Feed plane, we can make that 0.1. Retract could be 0.3, and that's fine there too. Okay, so there is our part. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So it actually looks pretty good. Let's run it again a little slower. Alright, so we're not hitting on that first one. There, I'm hitting on the second one. There's the third one. There's my finish pass. So I can change that to 2 passes. And I should be good then. So that looks pretty good. Let's go in there. Change that multi-pass to 2. Regen that. And that's good. Alright, so that almost takes care of that side. All we need to do is drill these holes. So let's go ahead and do some face drilling. Turn off my depth filter. And I'm just going to go around and select these. It's hard to get the snap to those sometimes. And I'm just going to hit check. And I'm not sure what size. I think we need to tap them too. So I think it's a letter F because I think we're tapping them to quarter 28 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I'm going to select my letter F. My feed rate, we're going to make that 10 inches a minute with a spindle speed of 2500. Cut. We're just going to drill this all at once. I'm going to assume I'm using a split point drill here. I'm not spot drilling these. But, you know, if you're not, you're using a long drill, you should spot drill them. In fact, actually, you know what? I am going to spot drill them. Let's be thorough. Spot drill, use a 1/2 inch. Check that. And those speeds and feeds are fine for that. Depth, we're going to take this to negative 0.1 to, check that, 135. We'll put a 10 thousandths chamfer on it. And top of stock, it's going to be right here. And retract 0.1, clearance 0.25, that's fine. Tip comp we don't need on. I believe that's all good. Okay, so there we go. One thing we do have to look out and see if it's actually going to hit the outside of this diameter. You can see there it's showing the hole diameter, or the tool diameter. So we'll have to check that out. If it does, we'll just change that to a 3/8 spot drill. No big deal. Okay, so I'm going to go face drill again, and I'm just going to select the last holes that I selected, and I'm going to hit the check button. Tool. This time we'll use our letter F drill. There it is. And we're going to 10 inches a minute at a speed of 2000. Cut parameter straight through. Linking parameters, we are going to go to this back side. And we can tip comp this. Finish diameter. I believe that's 0.25. I'm just going to add the depth. I realize it's not 0.25 for a letter F drill. It's fine. Actually, I think that's for a 5/16 letter F. 5/16 18 tab. So actually the finished diameter would be 0.3125. It's going to go a little deeper, which is basically not a problem. I wanted to make sure it goes past. But I am going to change my spot drill if that's the case for the depth. Let's see here. Tools. Yeah, it is 5/16 18. So I need to go in here and change this depth a little bit. So 156 would be half of that. So we're going to say we're going to go negative 0.165. That'll put a little chamfer on there for us. Regenerate that. Okay, now let's tap it as well. We'll pick the same holes again. Check. Tool. We're going to pick our 5/16. 800. So we just want to make sure we pick the right speed. So we're going to say, let's spin this thing at, let's spin it at 500 RPM. And if we take 500 divided by 18, we get 27.77. It's given us, of course, it's given us the right feed rate. And it should automatically calculate that feed rate for you, but I always like to double check just to make sure. We're going to go a little bit deeper here. Actually, that should be fine because we want to make sure that we tap these through. So actually, I'm going to go negative 0.625 there. And I'm going to change my drill depth because this is a blind hole technically because we have not removed the material from the backside of here. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to make this negative 0.75. And we're going to regenerate all that and let's go ahead and play it. Oop, not sure what that is. Actually, I do know what that is. We need to add a clearance move after that. Okay, so you can see there, our spot drill is definitely hitting there as well. We do have a nice little chamfer though, so that looks nice. So this one here, this gouge, what I'm getting there is I'm doing these faces and I don't have a clearance plane set up for when I mill this. So that's the problem there. So I'm going to have a clearance plane that way. Instead of it rapiding this direction, it'll rapid straight and then it'll come in the Z. And then, of course, I need to change my spot drill size. So let's go in and change our spot drill, since that is easy to do real quick. So click on that. 0.375. Finish. Regen that. And our face contour right here. Let's add a larger clearance in here. So we'll make this clearance out here at 1.0 and hit check. And let's simulate that again. Might have to add clearance on another one. Nope, that did the trick. Oh, that was just the graphics. Saw a really, really deep chamfer there, but that was just the graphics not updating quick enough. So that looks good. Everything there looks all right. And we can move on. Okay. Now, I think that there is some engraving on this side as well. So I'm going to take a look at my levels here and just turn everything on and make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes, the engraving's on this side. So I need to take care of that engraving. And then we're going to flip this thing around. So, oops, leave text on, turn everything else off. And let's go ahead and take care of that. Now, as I stated in some of our classroom sessions, I don't like to just use a C-axis cross contour to do these. It's not really the way I like to do it. I could select this and run through that. I like to actually wrap the text around so I can control the orientation of the text. So that's what I'm going to do. No, I don't want to keep that. Transform. I'm going to roll. Select all this text. Start point. Check. And it's going to ask me where I want it. I want it at a diameter of 1.6 because I believe that is the outside diameter of this thing. Maybe it's 1.5. Yes. If I go to the right side here and get a kind of... Oh, it won't show it if I do that. Actually, I think it's 1.5, yeah. 1.5. Should have measured this before I did. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So that looks good. And it's going to engrave my part right here. But if I wanted to use this angle right here, I can rotate that text around at any point on here that I want. But right there's fine in this case. So I'm going to hit check. I really should have hit move, but I didn't. So my text is now on there. Let me undo that quick. And let's go back into roll. And I don't want to move it, but I do want it to go on the text level. So I'm going to work on the text level. And we're going to hit roll. Select it again. Check. And it automatically does it. And hit check. Okay. So now it's on the text level. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my turning, cross contour, select my text, check, tool, I'm going to use a 16th ball mill, we're going to move this about 5 inches a minute at 5,000 RPM, plunge rate's fine for that, compensation is off, that is correct. Nothing to leave. Depth cuts, no. Lead-ins, no. Multi-passes, no. Linking parameters, we're going to go negative 0.006. Oops. Negative 0.006. Top of stock is going to be 0. That's where the geometry is. 0.1, 0.1, 0.25. That's all good. All we need to do is put in our axis. Diameter, it's using a C. We want to use a C axis for this. Oh, I picked the wrong one. Pardon me. Toolpath type. Shoot. I made a mistake. We'll have to delete that one. I want to use a C-axis contour. C-axis contour is what I wanted. I accidentally clicked the wrong one. Okay, check. Let's go through this again. 5,000 RPM. I'll make it 6, whatever. It's close enough. Computer wear is off. None of this stuff is on. Negative 0.006. Make it negative. And then my axis rotary control is 1.5 inch diameter. Check. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that looks good. Let's simulate this, see how it looks. Play. Well, looks pretty good. So we have our letters in there. And go to levels, turn that off now. Okay. Alright. We are now ready to flip this part over to the other side. Alright, so first I'm going to save this thing. Yes. Save as. Assignments. Lesson 8 tutorial. Okay, save. Alright, now that I've saved it, I'm going to go ahead and do a stock transfer. Okay, oh, check that. No. Before I do that, I do want to set up my jaws on the right spindle here. So, go to my properties. I believe this is a 1.5. Yeah, it's 1.5, and we're going to say it's at 30 inches. Say it's 30 inches where the spindle normally sits, the sub spindle that is. And that number is just kind of made up. It's just based on your machine. So I'm going to hit check. Check. All right, now I'm going to do my stock transfer. And I'm going to not blank geometry. I'm going to select everything that I need. In this case, I probably should turn everything on. And selection. All right. And then transferred position, we'll say it's negative 30. Point. This is 1.5. Z is going to be 30. This is actually 30, not negative 30. Pick off position. we're going to select -1.5, and so it's -1 from there to there. I'm not going to go the full -1. I'm going to go a -0.875. And we're going to go ahead and hit check. I think everything's right there. All right, so it looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to turn a lot of this stuff off. I don't need the text or the lines on anymore. Go to my toolpaths. And I guess the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this thing. So let me regenerate everything. And you can see my stock looks good. It's holding on the correct diameter. Everything looks good there. Okay, so let's face this back side off. Let's go to a face. Of course, I need to find a left-handed tool. So I'll use this one. 900 at 3000. It looks good. I do not want to forget to change my axis control or my axis combination. Oop. That's still not supposed to be 3000. All right, everything looks good in here. There we go. So it should have faced it. Oh, we didn't face quite at the right spot. So let's go in there and check this face right there. There we go. Now we're facing at the right place. All right, next we're going to rough this. Okay, so all I did was select that solid, and it automatically turned it into a profile for me. And I'm going to go ahead and hit check. And of course, we're going to use that left-handed tool, wherever it's at. There it is. 900 RPMs, 3000. That looks good. All this stuff looks good. Everything here looks pretty good. Lead out, let's extend that another 0.05. And check. And also let's do our axis combination. And we're going to use remaining stock and hit check. And that looks good. Okay, and then we're just going to finish. And we're going to do the same thing. Check. Same tool. 900. Finish. And our lead in. We're again extend this 0.05 past. Check. Everything looks good there. Oh, I probably did not change the axis combination. Yes, I'd like to keep it. I think I forgot. I did. Check. You find out really quick if you forget to change that. It does not let you forget about it. All right, so we have this part roughed in now. So everything's finished here. Basically from here over, everything's finished. All we need to do is drill these holes, this hole, and we need to bore this thing too. Forgot about that actually. So yeah, I still do have to do some more over here. So let's go ahead and do that and finish this bore. Select there, select here and here. Check. All right, let's use a 1/2 inch boring bar. Yeah, let's use our 1/2 inch. 900. Whoops, not 9,000. 5. Check that. 3,000. Everything in here looks pretty good. I do need to change my axis combination. Check that. Come in. Yeah, let's use stock for outer boundary. I'm going to extend this just a little bit, maybe 0.01, just so it goes past a little bit. Check. No plunges needed. Everything looks pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit check. I think everything's good there. Okay. Yes, I want to keep the average. So I try to come in from this side. That's just because I need to change my boring bar. So what you need to do is set up your tool and tell it you're in the right spindle. So it's going to hit check, check, and yes. And then let's regen that. Okay, collision with stock, check, 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 check. All right, so obviously I'm off to the wrong side here. Okay. There we go. All right, so let's go down and regen that after we change the spindle direction, or sorry, the offset direction. So that needs to be off to the right. Check and regen. All right, that looks a little better. Okay, let's go ahead and simulate this. So I know the other side looks good, so I'm going to watch this side. Okay, so that side looks good. We've managed to turn the inside. Everything there looks good. All I need to do now is drill some of these holes. So let's hypothetically say that I don't have this circle here. Let's say that doesn't exist. And all I have is a solid model that I imported. It doesn't have this circle, which is extremely handy. So what I'm going to turn my levels off. I'm going to turn the circles off for a moment. So let's see here. Actually, I want the solid one. I want these things off, though. Okay. Okay, so you see I don't have any points, nothing. If I run into this situation, which you will, especially during a test, where you don't have any kind of geometry to go off of, what you might automatically think you can do is create a curve on one edge. Okay, bam, there we go. There's my circle. Cool. The problem is that is actually a spline because it's following the surface. And you cannot click to the center of that. There's no center point for it. So that's not going to work for you. So you got to get rid of that. So that's no good. What we can do in our model prep, we have something called create hole axis. We can utilize this and we can actually have it create a circle for us. It will also create this axis line, and it creates a point there as well. I don't want the point. I don't want the axis line. So I'm going to turn the axis line off. I'm also going to turn the points off. And I'm just going to put the circle on. And by the way, this circle, I can move this to whatever side I want. Both. I only want one on the top. So that works for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit check. Actually, I'm just going to hit the blue check because I need to do one over here too. And select the same thing. All right, so you see it's going the wrong direction that time, so I'm just going to change it to the bottom. And all my other stuff's off. So hit check, and there we go. So now I have my two holes that I can use for this. So then I'm just going to go into my turning. And, of course, this is a C-axis drill. So I'm just going to select that one and try and select this one without clicking somewhere strange. Okay. Sometimes you really got to change your view to get these things. Ah, that's why. There we go. All right. All right, so I'm going to check. Tool. Okay, I'm going to use, actually not sure what size this is. I'm just going to hit check real quick. Okay. 1.4. Let's see what size that is. Drafting. We got top. I have another idea. Here's a 1/4 inch. Cool. All right. Let's go back to toolpaths. Got a 1/4 inch drill in there. 1/4 inch drill here somewhere. There it is. Check. Now I would probably spot drill this. I would almost certainly spot drill this. But we're going to assume I'm using a split point carbide drill, something like that, just for the sake of time. You guys know to spot drill whenever you're making something. We're going to go 8.0 at 5,000, or no, at 2,000. Should be fine. Cut parameters, everything looks good there. We're just going to drill through it. Depth, we're going to a depth of essentially through this thing. Let's see here. -0.8. We'll see where that takes us. Everything there looks good. Top of stock is at 0. And all this looks good. Our rotary axis, I'm not sure if that's 1.4 or not. Actually, probably should check that. So let's regen that. Funny thing is that actually looks pretty good. So that 0.8 gets us to the center. Levels. Dimensions. Ah. It's 1.6 on that side. Okay. Which makes sense that -1.8 went to the center. So we're just going to go in there and change that rotary dimension to 1.6, and we're going to change this to a -0.3. Check and regen that. Alright, so that's clearly going through. That looks good. Now let's go ahead and do these other two holes. So to do those, I'm going to have to turn on these arcs, and of course, I am going to do these with a different tool path. So I need to do these with a cross drill so that it actually creates the plane and makes it perpendicular to the z-axis, but doesn't align with the z-axis. So I'll go ahead and pick these. Oops, I accidentally picked mask on arc. That one and that one. And take that off. Check. Tool. It's going to be that 1/4 inch drill again. 8.0 at 2,000 RPM. Again, especially for this one here that's off center, I would probably actually plunge an end mill to do that one. In fact, actually we're going to do that. We're going to use an end mill to drill these because they're off center, so that drill would want to walk. 8.0 with the end mill is fine. We'll make this 5,000 since it's an end mill. Cut parameters, linking parameters. Okay, so we're going to go to a depth. I'm going to take these the same depth. I could actually drill these separately. This one doesn't need to go as deep as this one. But I'm going to make these a depth of -0.6. We'll see if that gets me through or not. If not, we'll adjust accordingly. Everything else there looks good. Okay, I can hit check. Ooh, that does get me through. Check that out, just barely. So that works. Now, if I was making a bunch of these parts, I may do these as separate. That way I'm not drilling this one forever, and I don't need to go that deep for that one. So I might drill this one separate from this one. Just make it a separate operation. Okay, so I believe that is all we need. Turn everything off there. And let's go ahead and wash this thing complete. Perfect. Everything there looks good. Drilled the holes through. And that's it. That is all there is to it. So, as always, if you have questions, you can ask me during class, or of course, you can ask me during my office hours.